Hello and welcome again to my poetry channel. The poem I'm going to read for you today is by Emanuel Litvinoff, and it is called To T.S. Eliot. And I should give a bit of background and context to this poem. In the 1920s, T.S. Eliot had published some poems with absolutely appalling anti-Semitic comments and references in them, for which he'd come in for much criticism. Rather disgracefully, in 1948, when he issued a selected poems of his, these anti-Semitic poems were still in there. Bear in mind that this was shortly after the Second World War and therefore the Holocaust. Emanuel Litvinoff was a well-known Jewish writer who felt that he really had to respond to this. So he wrote the poem I'm going to read you. He was at an event at the Institute of Contemporary Arts in 1951, where he was to read the poem, when T.S. Eliot actually came in as part of the audience. Litvinoff decided he was still going to read the poem, despite the fact that Eliot himself was there to hear it. And afterwards, Eliot reportedly said, "It's a good poem. It's a very good poem." Thus, he seemed not to be offended by this attack on him. So, Emanuel Litvinoff's To T.S. Eliot. Eminence becomes you. Now when the rock is struck, your young sardonic voice, which broke on beauty, floats amid incense and speaks oracles, as though a god utters from Russell Square, and condescends high in the solemn cathedral of the air his holy octaves to a million radios. I am not one accepted in your parish. Bleestein is my relative, and I share the protozoic slime of Shylock, a page in Sturmer, and underneath the cities, a billet somewhat lower than the rats. Blood in the sewers. Pieces of our flesh float with the ordure on the Vistula. You had a sermon, but it was not this. It would seem, then, yours is a voice remote, singing another river, and the gilded wreck of princes only for time's ruin. It is hard to kneel when knees are stiff. But London's Semite Russian pale, you will say, heaven is not in our voices. The accent, I confess, is merely human, speaking of passion with a small letter, and crying widow, mourning not the church, but a woman, staring the sexless sea, for no ships return, and no fruit singing in the orchards. Yet, walking with Cohen when the sun exploded and darkness choked our nostrils, and the smoke drifting over Treblinka reeked of the smouldering ashes of children, I thought what an angry poem you would have made of it, given the pity. But your eye is a telescope, scanning the circuit of stars for good, and evil absolute, and at luncheon turns fastidiously from fleshy noses to contemplation of the knife, twisting among the entrails of spaghetti. So, shall I say, it is not eminence chills, but the snigger from behind the covers of history. Let your words tread lightly on this earth of Europe, lest my people's bones protest.